Howdy folks, Grebner here with Grebner Outdoors, and this is a video in regard to a request that I got for me to address tree stand versus ground blind. And I've hunted out of both, and I've had my best luck, as in the one deer that I actually got, because I didn't have the greatest deer season in '09, but I had my best luck out of a tree stand. Now, tree stand versus ground blind. One, it's a lot to do with your terrain and also the blind that you have. You really can't skimp on the money with a ground blind, because for the money that you're going to pay for a ladder stand or a climber, you might as well go with that if you're going to skimp on the money for a good ground blind. Because if you buy a crappy ground blind, it might seem okay, but if you're going to bow hunt out of it, your arrow is going to stick out a ways from your bow. And that broadhead is going to catch, and it's going to rip, and if you're not careful, it's entirely possible for you to stick your broadhead through the side of your ground blind and tear it a big old 6-inch hole, or stick it through the ceiling, and it's going to be difficult to get your bow up and draw that bow with your arm back here and your broadhead out here. So you need to make sure that you get a ground blind that's designed for a bow hunter, that's wide enough to allow you to maneuver inside of it. And also, you're going to need to make sure that you get a good swivel seat that's not going to squeak, or even a 5-gallon bucket. And so, I'm not a huge fan of ground blinds for bow hunting out of, but it also has a lot to do with your terrain. If you want to have a 360 view and you drop a ground blind out in the center of your food plot, I guess that's cool. But like I said, you need to make sure that you get a ground blind that's properly sized. Now, hunting turkey out of a ground blind with a shotgun, that's a different story, because you can put your shotgun out of the ground blind to take your shot. Deer hunting with a rifle or a shotgun out of a ground blind, that I don't know about, because I have not shotgun hunted deer out of a ground blind. And so also there's safety things that you want to be concerned about when you're shotgun hunting or rifle hunting out of a ground blind, about your blaze orange requirements. And so now on to tree stands. Ladder stand versus climber stand versus permanent stand. If you've got a permanent stand, great, hunt out of a permanent stand. Make sure that it's safe, make sure that it's put together well. Also, on the ladder stand, what height should I climb to with my climber? For a beginner deer hunter, I recommend a ladder stand, either a 16 or a 22 footer, because they're easy to put up, they're cheap enough to buy. You buy a ladder stand, you throw it together, you tack it on a tree out in the woods, you lock it to the tree so nobody steals it, and it's always there. Now, I do like my climbers if I know that, well, I have a climbing stand and I have a ladder stand and I have a ground blind. My ground blind is ruined because I ended up cutting it up with broadheads this year, so I no longer really have a ground blind, but I have experience with a ground blind. And what height you hunt out of is kind of important. You don't want to be on too steep of an angle to your deer or your turkey, because, well, deer anyway is what I'm going to talk about, because the vitals are maybe, say, like this and like this. Your target, the higher you get up, shrinks. which is why I like hunting out of a 16-foot tall ladder stand as opposed to a 22-foot tall ladder stand. Climbers are great if you've got a lot of spots that you hunt, but for beginners I recommend a ladder stand. And climbers are very good for if you've got a lot of spots and you need to be mobile to get in and out. And so I really recommend a 16-foot tall ladder stand for a beginner, because it puts you on a much less steep trajectory for your arrow to have to follow. Ground blinds can be alright, but make sure that they're properly sized for archery hunting, and know your own local laws on your blaze orange requirements. And so, I hope this video is helpful. But anyways, as always, God bless all my Ted Ninja blood brothers. Join the NRA to protect our rights. Thank you very much to those of you involved in law enforcement and those of you serving in the military. And thanks for watching Tex Grebner Outdoors. I'll see you later, Space Cowboys.